this is the perk of innovation. When you create new paths, you get first access to opportunities like this. As much as I want to make money, I'm on a mission to make impact. I'm on a mission to like reduce human suffering and maximize human potential and do so through these therapeutic products. Like when that happens, and when that happens at scale, the natural output is money. Like there will be plenty of money. Like that, if we focus just clearly on the impact, the rest will take care of itself.
What is up, everybody? This is Nick Shackelford. You have Joshua Johnson. As always, we are back with the Agency Algorithm, and today is going to be a very, very uplifting day as I talk to one of my best friends and partners, Aaron Nosbisch. Did I pronounce that last name correctly, brother?
Dude, that was perfect. You're one of the few who get it right consistently. I appreciate that.
Let's go. Aaron and I have been for just over a year and a half, almost 2 years at this point, and we have come to know each other around the world. We've been traveling a lot together. We've done many events together. We were able to like bless each other on his very first event in Barcelona last year, which is super, super cool under the Geek Out flag. He actually is building in a space where not many people would choose to build in, and there's a very interesting story behind this. And so I gave you a little bit of a tease into it. But Aaron, how are you, brother, and where are you calling me from?
I am feeling good. I am so grateful to be on here. There's like two of my favorite people. I feel like I'm hanging out with my best friends, and so I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm currently in San Francisco, but I'm a little tired. I just got back from Poland at like 2 a.m. last night. So I've been with, I don't know if the viewers know, but I've been training with Wim Hof this last week in Poland, like in the middle of nowhere, jumping into icy rivers and breathing until I burst. And it's been incredible. And I feel both great and exceptional and exhausted all at the same time.
You need to break it. Like, who's Wim Hof? Like, Josh and I are familiar with this. We understand the craziness that this guy is, but please break it down for some people that might not be aware of it.
Yeah. I'm curious because you said training, right? Like, I'm curious, like, what different. Is training with Wim Hof? Because, like, I see training like running, lifting, like, that's my type of training. You guys are doing something completely different out there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Wim Hof, for those who don't know, like, if you've seen the ice bath movement, if you've seen people getting in, like, tubs full of ice or doing these intense breathing exercises until they have, like, variations of almost psychedelic trips, Wim Hof is kind of the guy who originated all of this. He got famous for breaking, I think, over 26 world records, and they were from a range of things of climbing Mount Everest in shorts and barefoot to doing a marathon in the Sahara Desert with no water. This guy's like nuts. And essentially what his kind of premise is that through these breathing exercises and this cold therapy, which is essentially a sandbox of stress for your body, you can push yourself far beyond the known limits of humans and tap into superhuman potential. And, you know, it's like when you say it, it feels a little like woo-woo, ha-ha, whatever. Yeah. But dude, I'll tell you, when you do 50 push-ups and then Wim's like, okay, you're going to do some breathing, you're going to do some exercise, and you're going to be able to 2 to 4x that push-up baseline, like the next couple of days. And then you do it. It's mind-blowing. So I've been just spending the last week with him. It started with like, okay, we're going to go out into the snow and put our hands in the snow for 5 minutes, like do that. And that was really, really tough. And then, okay, we're going to go walk outside and do barefoot in the snow for 5 minutes. And that was tough. I'm in just terrible pain. Like, how the hell am I going to do this? Like, my feet are going to fall off and it's going to be awful. To like the next day, we did 45 minutes walking barefoot through the snow and it was easy, like no problem at all. And then the day after that, we did 5 minutes in like literally a frozen lake where I have like sheets of ice around my neck while I'm underwater and just calming the body and taking control. Dude, it's insane. His big thing is interoceptive focus. An interoceptive focus, your interoceptive system is your system that like responds to you autonomously. It's a system that tells you to breathe. It's a system that says, oh, this is cold, this is hot, this is painful, I need to do or don't do, fight or flight, these responses. So you take control of these autonomous systems and you tell your body what to do rather than the body telling you what to do. And dude, I'll tell you, I feel incredible. I feel like I can do literally anything I want in the world. It alkalizes you, and alkalization is kind of the precursor to conductiveness. And so in energy, when you see with batteries and electricity. And so if you alkaline your body, you can also kind of be the precursor to a more impactful manifestation because like your energy is more aligned with creating whatever it is that you want. So you know what's crazy, Nick, is the first time I did Wim Hof training was right before my first presentation at Geek Out Barcelona. And I told you for weeks and months leading up to that, like, dude, I'm scared to death. I have this public speaking fear. I can talk to a group of 5, 10, 15, 20, like no problem at all. But as soon as it gets to these hundreds of people that you consistently have at Geek Out, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. So I did this training in spring. So this is my second time training with Wim Hof. I did this first one in the summer of last year. And right after it, the first day back, I went to Geek Out Barcelona and spoke. And bro, it was easy. Like, I just made a decision. I'm going to have an incredible speech. It's going to go flawlessly, and people are going to love it. I'm going to love it, and everyone's going to have a great time. And like, I don't know if you guys know this about Nick, but he's a hard ass when it comes to his speakers. Like, he doesn't fuck around whatsoever. Excuse my language. I don't know if I curse. True, but you don't, dude. And like, Nick got off the stage and he's like, Aaron, 9 out of 10, clean. And I'm like, what? Like, Nick says that? Like, Nick doesn't say that to anyone for anything. So anyway, long story short, I feel incredible. I feel powerful. I feel connected to myself and to the world around me. And that through going to pain, going to stress, I get to a situation where there is no stress, there is no pain, and I can just create whatever I want. So there's a long-winded answer.
This to me is something that like I'm on a very different journey, but a similar journey. Like, you and I are very masochistic in our sense of pushing ourselves to areas that most other people wouldn't do, both physically and at times financially, right? Like, when you're investing heavily in yourself in this area, it's a commitment to your financial future, it's a commitment to who you are right now, it's a commitment to your partner, your company, your team. When I sit there, it's like, pick your pain or the pain's going to pick for you. And there's very few phrases and things I live by. Like, I believe there's enough for all of us to eat. That's one that I always consistently share.
Love that
candor
one.
with kindness. And then this newest one, which is a 2021, 2022 thing, is pick your pain or the pain's going to pick. And in this world, let's put it even at like a very worldly schedule or scenario, you have a lot of things happening, right? You have a lot of things where people are consuming, let's put it this way, they're consuming things that are not good for their body, thinking that it's going to be good for their body, right? That these drugs, these pharmaceuticals, these areas that they are being fed and told, hey, you should take this because you're going to feel better, right? I'm not going to take it down the COVID-19 vaccination route, but I would take it in an area where the alternative medicine, that is stuff that we all need to take extremely serious, that the Fed, that the advertising channels, that all the areas are actually taking a lot more serious and are being much more open to, was something that you saw way back when you were CMO style. Did you know that it would lead all the way up to this? Because it's been pretty progressive since you jumped into this space, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just at the beginning. Like, straight up, I think this is just the ground level of what's coming. Like, the way I think about this is, and just a little bit, backing up just a little bit so people know what we're talking about. Like, so today I'm CEO of Lucid. Lucid is the largest conscious compound and conscious method advertising firm in the world. We're becoming more of a full service marketing agency now. And so we're on a mission to reduce human suffering and maximize human potential through therapeutic compounds that lead to a net positive return. Not all compounds lead to a net positive return. Like, for instance, whether you like beer or you like drinking or not, like, no one's like out at the fucking bar thinking like, wow, I'm going to feel great tomorrow after all these beers, you know, like, it's just not what you do. But I'll tell you, if you have some CBD, you have some functional mushrooms, you have some vitamins, like, there's a lot of substances out there and adaptogens out there that lead to you feeling net positive. Even psychedelic trips, whether you have a microdose from a mushroom or you have a macrodose from a mushroom, like, it's a gateway to healing trauma, and that healing of the trauma leads to reduced suffering and maximize potential. So we call that net positive. So, like, to your question, like, have I seen this? Yeah, I mean, I've seen it for a minute. Like, you know, I mean, honestly, it's just something I was really passionate about, something I personally loved. Like, I found myself looking for compounds and methods that would lead to me feeling better without feeling worse. And I thought it was crazy that most of the drugs and the substances and the compounds and the methods on the market, like, they generally made people worse.
Yeah.
I think of it pretty simply. Like, there's not that many last frontiers that we're aware of in today's society for innovators like the three of us to pursue. And I see those as like the deep ocean, the like deep space, and consciousness. Like, I think that the deepest impact that I can have is in the consciousness revolution. So I'm looking to innovate upon consciousness. I'm looking to become one of the greats, like many greats of great consciousness innovators before me. And I think the best way I can do that today is by helping distribute these therapeutic compounds that lead to people healing and feeling better and being the fullest version of themselves. So I think we're just at the beginning. This is going to get crazy. Like, people are just waking up to it, man. Like, like, people are like, oh, wow, fucking ice baths, that's cool. Or mushrooms, like, I feel better. But there's so much trauma just like in our lives and in the lives before us, our ancestors that were passed us to us through our DNA. Like, we're the first generation that can be really clearly conscious of what's happening and start healing that. And when that heals, man, life gets better. Like, you don't have to mask it with these pharmaceuticals. You don't have to mask it with alcohol. You can just like live into love and live into the person you've always wanted to be. And like, when more people start doing that, which is just the natural, like, the natural occurrence. Like that's just what's just going to happen. The world's going to be a better place. There's going to be more love. There's going to be healthier people. There's going to be happier people. And I'm hopeful that I can be a serious conduit of that change and that movement. And I'm grateful to have partners like you, Nick, and Josh to help that reality manifest.
Do you think when you're back at Monk, I want to talk about that a little bit, because you saw the movement of advertising in the space as like a real thing? Because let's put it this way, 2 years ago, 1 year, even 1 year ago, building an agency that does paid media on Facebook alone was not a thing. Like there was no way to do this in a way where you can have consistent revenue. It's actually kind of sad in the space when you have missions around. Yes, obviously people want to make money, they want to be profitable. But you have a lot of these strong missions. For instance, the Soul CBD guys, right? Like he was a former boxer, Mike. All the things he went through, the rattledness that he was, found solace in a product like CBD and these combinations and mixtures that it has, and it made his body and everything feel better. That's a real mission. That's not me selling a widget to make money or selling a skincare product to lift my bags, right? Like that's a real mission. And for advertising platforms like Facebook and Google and TikTok and all these ones, not allowing it to actually be, not even allowing payment methods to even be accepted at times for CBD and alternative medicine. Like there's issues where even Stripe or PayPal will hold all these payments. When you sat after Monk, how did you make a decision to be like, well, I'm actually going to go try and build an agency in this space? Like, first off, why would you build an agency in this space? And second off, how do you find people that care as much as you do on this to work for the agency? Because I'm always wondering, do you have to find the right person that cares about this as much as you do?
Yeah, I think you do. Like, honestly, Nick, that's why we're partners. The short version is I called Nick just like randomly. I was friends with Chase Diamond and he was tight with Nick. And so he plugged me in and I was just like, Nick, I'm on to something. Like CBD, hemp, these adaptogens, cannabis, these psychedelic therapies, these aromatherapy products, these conscious methods like Wim Hof, they're changing the world. And it is, someone has to do this. If it's not us, it's going to be someone else. But I think that it's our responsibility. And I was shocked as hell. Like, just to be honest, Nick, like I love you to death, but you were just so big in the space and you're such a leader in the space. I figured you were probably a little more egotistical and like not available, not very conscious. I didn't know what to expect, but I got on the call with you and you just got it from the moment I got on the call and like connected with me on it. And I'm like, Nick, I think there's like a divine calling to fucking make this happen. And I'd like to do it together. And you said, let's pursue it. Let's try to make it happen. And if it works, it works. Let's go for it. And that worked. And Nick, I tell people all the time, but you were such a better partner than I ever could have expected you to be. Like you have been there every step of the way to help me in every possible way that I could possibly imagine. And not just me, but my colleagues, my friends, our employees, our other partners, all of it. I'm done blowing smoke up your ass, but I really do think you're fucking incredible. And I'd like to sort of answer your question. Yeah, you do need people who get it. You need people who understand. You need people who have experienced these products or have experienced the con of the negative of products and want to be part of the change. And you did, which was very helpful. So throwing back, I was chief marketing officer of Monk. So I've been in e-commerce since I was 13. I'm 29 now. So I think we lost Nick for a minute, but I'll keep riffing. Got into e-commerce when I'm 13. I'm 29 now. I started with MySpace and Big Cartel with a clothing company. Eventually, I really cut my teeth with a brand called Monk. Monk was the first personal portable aromatherapy diffuser. We essentially took vaporizers, we took the nicotine and tobacco out, and we added only essential oils to them. And that made a portable aromatherapy diffuser. And these aromatherapies, smell is a very strong sense. When you smell things, it goes through your nose, through your olfactory bulb, and then it sends signals to your brain that promote the idea or promote the effects. And so we had 7 different blends of aromatherapy that each created different ways that you could feel, whether it was sleepy, happy, vibrant, or whatnot. And so long story short, I tried to advertise this and Meta kept telling me, no, this is not an option. You can't advertise it. This is the vaporizer, it's an e-cigarette. And so I would write letters to, I studied the policy and I realized that every time it said you can't advertise e-cigarettes or vaporizers, it was reference to nicotine or smoking tobacco. And so I wrote a letter to Zuckerberg and I've CC'd a couple people's emails that I found on LinkedIn and was like, this is pure innovation. This is not an e-cigarette. This is not a vaporizer. You need to let us advertise or you have forgotten what innovation is fundamentally. And I didn't expect anyone to email me back and no one did email me back. But like the next week, our ad account was unlocked and we became the first non-vaporizer to ever advertise on Facebook, which was like insane. So long story short, I started with Monk, which was just the father, the son, and me who were behind the company. The first year we did 100,000 in revenue. The second year we unlocked Facebook and just really leaned into influencer marketing, and we went from 100,000 to 7 million our second year. And then so That put us in the top 50 fastest growing companies in America and the top 1% of advertisers on Meta. So that was really cool. And then the second year, we went from 7 million to 15 million in annual revenue. And this is like 2013. So this is like before a lot of D2C brands were really pushing those kind of numbers. So I learned a ton, got invited to Facebook, like met some people at Meta, learned a lot about the D2C space, a lot of the advertising space. And it was kind of like the spark that really got me rolling in this conscious compound space. So I shortly there got into a CBD and hemp brand. I tried to advertise. I got shut down every which way you could possibly imagine when it came to advertising. So I called my friends at Meta and they were like, hey, here's the policy. You can do educational articles about CBD. You can do advertorials or PR if they are more educational and informational, and you can do hemp topicals. And so I was like, okay, great. So I tried to advertise that. I still got shut down. Just nonstop. And so long story short, I was like, okay, I'm going to get out. I started consulting cannabis brands on how to build scale in the D2C space. They all wanted to know how to advertise. So I kept working on it. In November of 2020, where like literally I had 7 clients. And even though I had some ads live for a little bit, they all went down at the same time. And I called Nick and I'm like, Nick, there's a path to do this. If I can get the highest level Meta support available, which is what I had at my monk days, then I'm positive I can make a case to them that's going to allow us to advertise these products. And he said, he took a bet on me and said, hey, I'll open the window. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can do it. I swear, man, I made this like lawyer level case to Meta of like why these products are compliant, why they need to let us advertise. And they agreed with us. They said, okay, that makes sense. You're doing it in the compliant sense. We support what you're doing. They gave us high level support to make sure our ads didn't get falsely rejected. They gave us access to programs. They gave our closer review to our ads. And long story short, we pulled it off for one of the biggest brands in the space, Medterra, early on. And then shortly thereafter, I think we took on like 100 of the leading CBD, hemp, cannabis, and functional mushroom brands in the world. And to this day, we run actively about 42 different clients in the space. And at scale, like, I went from a little nothing to now we run 90% of the CBD and hemp ads on Meta today. And the other 10% are kind of like flash in the pan ads. So if you want to advertise CBD and hemp these days, it's pretty much through Lucid. And I don't think it's a forever thing, but it was this is the perk of innovation. When you create new paths, you get first access to opportunities like this. And honestly, it's a hard thing too. Like as much as I want to make money, I'm on a mission to make impact, dude. Like I'm on a mission to like reduce human suffering and maximize human potential and do so through these therapeutic products. Like when that happens, and when that happens at scale, the natural output is money. Like there will be plenty of money like on that. Like just if we focus just clearly on the impact, the rest will take care of itself.
Well, it's not only that you are to focus on money, you need money to continue to have the impact, to continue to have enough time to get as many people as possibly behind the mission, which is where like the shift of mindset of money was for me, or is for me currently, is you need enough to continue to push the mission, push the quote unquote narrative along, because it is a big thing. It's still an uphill battle, right? Like it's, to me, when you gave me that call, I was already a consumer of marijuana THC. I was already a consumer. I believed in it. It helped me with what I was doing, so I didn't have to be so Adderalled out. And I was like, okay, it's good. It allows me to be in my thoughts, have conversations, be in social situations at times. And when I realized like why is this not happening more often? And when you live on the border of, you have affiliate gray hat, black hat, and then you have, no, I want to do this the correct way. It was tough, right? I remember when Chase called me, Chase was like, hey, you need to talk to Aaron. And I was like, cool, I'll talk to Aaron. Let me see what it is. And I think what you have that's unique to most strong CEOs or leads, the Steve Jobs aura effect, right? You are so convinced in your path and you're so strong in where you want to go with it that you're able to kind of get people to rally behind it, and it's what you need. And so when I heard it, I was yeah, I think this is real. I think this is for real. This is going to be here. And then what convinced me was when I saw the contract come over for partnership and doing this together, I was like, oh, this is the depth in which he's going to go for a contract, the depth in which he's going to go for SOPs to make sure this gets approved. Because look, all of us that run paid ads in this current 2023 landscape, it's very difficult just to run normal like widgets, right? There's just so much crap that happens on this area. And so for you to have the processes set up, and that would be my next question, as I'm gonna ask you a couple of things around like how the team set up, the common things you kind of go through after we kind of get a little bit of a read from some of our partners and sponsors on this stuff. But I can't wait to dig in a little bit of like how the ops and the org is currently structured right now. Okay, give us 2 seconds.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I also want to tell you guys about our other company called Constant Creative with 2 Ks. And if you're looking for on-demand editing at any time, all around the world at a rate that makes total sense, you guys can find us at constantcreative.com. And we are back. What is interesting to me now is because obviously I know how our team is set up and the org of this is set up, but since you have so many checks and balances and things that have to go out that most typical e-commerce agencies don't have to deal with, what was unique in setting these up for the checks and balances to make sure that you don't have to get flagged? Because that relationship of the account going down with the client, that just makes the stress on you, which AKA puts the stress on your employees.
Yeah, great question. I'll start like a big shout out to like our other partners, like Alvin Klein, our CEO and partner with me and Nick, is just like an incredible operator, incredible systemization, incredible at processes. Like, yeah, like I might be really passionate and bring the vision, the resources and the relationships, but when it comes to like day-to-day processes, operations, systemization, Alvin Klein is the man. I learned so much from him on a daily basis. So I think first and foremost, it's the right people, and Alvin is definitely the right people in that regard. We also have an amazing, just quick shout out to Calvin Truong, has been an incredible partner and has really helped us scale into where we are today. And Matt Seibert, who runs our sales, he's also an incredible partner. So to answer your question, I'd say there's kind of like two critical pieces. One is communication and two is compliance. Like we're really careful to communicate exactly what the field of advertising in this conscious compound space looks like. So we tell CBD brands like, this is not easy. We have found a path. These challenges that you've ran into in the past, like ad rejections and ad accounts getting shut down and business managers getting shut down and domains getting blocked and blacklist URLs and all these different things. I express like that's happening due to non-compliant advertising. When you work with Lucid, you are going to be pursuing compliant advertising paths. To do compliant advertising paths, we are going to have to make sure that every ad we launch is triple checked to ensure that it hits the marks that Meta has set out for us. So that's first and foremost. And two, like when you do that, your ad accounts will stay live. But if you do not do that, you submit ads outside of us or around us and you break these rules, then it is very possible that these ad accounts go down. So I think first and foremost, it's like a deep, deep, deep dedication to white hat compliance of these types of products. Like, most people in the CBD, hemp, adaptogen, cannabis space, most of them are trying to go around the platform. They're trying to break the rules, pretend that they're, doing their thing, but get around it. They're trying to find a loophole. That's not really our path. Like our path is like, we want to work directly with these platforms. I want Facebook to call me and say, Aaron, we have a huge cannabis brand that we want to help advertise in the compliance sense. They give Nick and me a call first and foremost. Like that's the player I want to be, because like, you can go so much further with people when you find alignment. And like, it's not like these platforms are like anti good things. They're just trying to do so in a way that limits the liability for them. And gives them and maximizes the opportunity. So it's like when myself and Nick went to Meta and our partners we're not trying to break the rules. Like we're not trying to be fishy. We're trying to find paths that allow us to drive more revenue to Meta, drive more opportunity to Meta, drive better ads for the platform, and that ultimately to people receiving products that positively change their lives. And that was a big part of it. I'd say like we're really dedicated to SOPs that just clarify compliance from the ground up. We make all the ads that we submit them to the clients first so they can check them. We submit them to our team for compliance check before they ever go live. If the brand has an ad that they want to submit, they fill out a form, they submit the ad to us, we check it for compliance, we make sure it's ready to rock, and we can approve it before it ever goes live. And that's not to like black box this is just to make sure that every ad that we launch is compliant, keeps the ad account live for the brand, keeps our relationship strong with Meta. And the way I say this is like, there is no opportunity for profitability if you cannot have sustainability. And you can't have sustainability unless you have compliancy. So through compliancy, we get sustainability. From sustainability, we get profitability. If we just put up ads and got away with it for a week and they got shut down the next week, like opportunity cost wise, they should not be advertising.
I'm curious on the partnership side. It's something that you've brought up a few times now is you talk very highly of the partners that you're involved with. I'm curious how, one, you surrounded yourself with great partners, but what is it like going from kind of like a solo operation into bringing partners in, like who you can trust? I'm curious to know your thought process on the people that you've now entrusted with your business and your legacy that you're bringing in on a regular basis. Because it seems like you have incredible partners. You speak highly of them. So I'm curious on how all of that kind of came about.
Honestly, like my great partnerships for me started with two things. One, I got married 8 years ago. I'm 29 now. I got married at 20, and like getting married so young, you learn very quickly how to communicate and have a good partnership. Otherwise, it fails. Mm-hmm. And so it's like kind of like being thrown in the fire. Like you refine all the pieces off of you that are pretty frictiony and, not harmful to relationships, and you get better very quickly. So my great partnership started for me with marrying an excellent person who helps me become a better person every single day. My wife, Sky. So she's my ultimate partner, and that's who I've learned to have great relationships, partnerships from fundamentally. From there, I actually had a lot of bad business partnerships, before Sky and after Sky. I like that quote. It's you only lose if you stop trying, if you give up. I had a lot of bad partnerships, and through all those bad partnerships, I learned what a good partnership is and what a good partnership is not. And I also learned that it takes two to tango. Bad partnerships are not just, hey, that guy's an asshole. It's this guy's an asshole. Why? What the fuck's wrong with me? Why am I the problem? And if you can take a dedicated approach to understanding and figuring out what is the limiting factors in my own psychology that are preventing me from having healthy and strong partnerships, and start addressing those, even if the other person isn't the bee's knees, you can level up together. And so I'd say it really started with a great partnership with my wife, through having bad partnerships that let me reevaluate what I'm looking for in people that I work with, and what I need to be a good partner. And then I learned a lot from Nick about giving. There's that concept of being a giver, a taker, and a matchmaker. And I think for a lot of my life, I was either a matchmaker or a taker. I looked at things more objectively. I looked for opportunities to okay, this is tools that I can build with, and et cetera. And it was very external. And then when I met Nick, Nick taught me in the Geek Out community, which frankly, Nick, it's more of a program, a self-improvement program, as much as it is an e-commerce and D2C and internet entrepreneurship conference. If you are so focused on giving and sharing value and helping other people to win and succeed, if you stop trying to hide all these quote unquote secrets that you have that are and if you just focus on building, being open, being vulnerable, and giving, and specifically giving to people who are also givers, not giving to people who are just taking and taking and taking, but being able to recognize the difference and find people that want to grow and grow with you and that you can provide value to. As soon as I made that shift, I started exponentially growing. The company started growing faster, the partnership started growing faster. People stop looking at you like you're trying to f them, and they start looking at you as a key asset into their growth. That's what I want to be. Josh and Nick, I want to be a key asset to your growth. I want to do whatever the hell I can to make you as successful as possible. You guys can feel that when I say that, and I mean it from my heart, and I know you mean it from me too. And that creates exponential abundance that is second to none. So one last thing I'd say is I treat my partnerships like marriage. I tell Nick all the time, we're in it. If I'm pissed off or you're pissed off, let's process it, let's communicate, let's figure it out. There's no time to dwell on BS. There's time to refine and grow and love and communicate and process. And I'm very intentional about my relationships, most specifically my partnerships. And I don't think I'm the world's best by this any means, but I'm dead set on getting better every day.
How are you not jaded from bad past partner relationships? Is it tough for you to commit to a relationship when you've had a bad one in the past?
Yeah, dude. A lot of therapy. Honestly, I'm a big proponent of going to a counselor. I hope everyone does. I think this stigmatized idea of not talking about your feelings is so fucking stupid. There's a quote I like that I'm not sure who said it, but the rate limiter or the limit on your ability to grow is your personal psychology. That's what's preventing you from growth. If you can deal with that, if you can process that, there's so much more opportunity. So therapy, honestly, psychedelics, I've had several psychedelic trips that really have fundamentally changed my life. I don't actually think it's the psychedelic itself. I don't think it's whether you take mushrooms or LSD or DMT or whatever. These things are just gateways to healing trauma in the soul and the body. When you heal that trauma, then you have the opportunity to love more fully again. And so how am I not jaded? It's just a lot of healing, a lot of processing, a lot of journaling, a lot of loving, surrounding myself with great people who are there to listen to me process and think and figure it out. And I think one of the big things is I stopped looking externally for validation sometime a few years ago, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. I stopped looking for other people to tell me I'm okay. And I started looking to figure out why I'm not okay and then addressing those things until I was okay. And I'm grateful to say today that I'm okay and I'm solid. I use a lot of techniques as well. I'm big into breathing exercises. I go train with Wim Hof. I go dive in icy cold water in order to bring myself to that discomfort. So that way, then when there is discomfort, there is no discomfort. I meditate. I wouldn't call myself a self-help junkie, but I am intentional about healing and processing the trauma that's preventing me from growth. I've seen time and time again that when I pursue love, when I don't pursue resentment or hate, but I pursue healing and health, that I become a lot better, and I'm able to reach new heights that I was never able to reach before. And that validation gives me the strength to do it again and again and again. Because like, it's not one of those things that you just like, okay, now I'm healed and I'm ready to go. Like, things are going to happen tomorrow, today. Like, the challenge is the constant, the response is the variable. Going through the fire leads to more gold, more opportunity, more refinement.
When I sit back and I think about, if you do business for a period of time, you're going to get screwed over. You're going to realize like, ooh, I'm going to look out for that type of personality or that thing in the future, right? When I've always been a very giving person, or stand from a point of you can give all you can to them. Is there ever a point where you're like, okay, I've already actually given too much to an employee, to a partner, what have you? Is there a point where you actually have to kind of stop?
Absolutely. Actually, I learned a lot of this from you, Nick. Like, it's learning what a giver and a matchmaker and a taker looks like. I mean, there's people out there that want to grow with you, that want to like really just continue to like, it's like if everyone puts forward love, if everyone is putting forward abundance, like there is more abundance. But if one person is and two people are taking, if two people are, one person is taking, it's like a hole in your boat, like you're going to take on water, you're going to leak out, or a hole in your bucket, you're going to leak out water. So I think you have to identify and be aware and mindful of those situations. And even when you are in those situations, I don't think you have to be aggressive with it. I think you just have to make the moves, make the changes in order to get back to realignment with what you're doing. And so there's a Hormozy quote. I hate to quote Hormozy. He's a cool guy, but everyone
we love Hormozy.
Everything you want is on the other side of a few hard conversations. And I think this is so true. And so many people just never experience the fullness of what they're capable of because they're unwilling to do a couple tough, challenging things. And that goes back to like what Nick was saying. It's like, choose your pain or your pain will choose you. Like, if you're willing to go through the fire, if you're willing to have those tough conversations, when you recognize that this partnership, this employee, this person, this relationship, whatever, this opportunity is not what I thought it was, it's not what I'm trying to do, and you're willing to make those changes, it's like the universe, God rewards you for that. And you get to the other side and things become a lot better, a lot quicker. So something I practice these days is like, I'm reminded that the times that I've done the hard things in the past, that it's worked out. And I trust whenever I have a new hard thing to do, that if I do it, it will also work out. And I also meditate on the concept of like, you can't lose if you can just keep going. So even if some of those hard conversations don't necessarily end up the way you want them, like you just keep going, and eventually it will. Yeah, that's kind of how I say it. And also like, dude, whenever I get pushback, like if I know I'm doing the right thing, if I know like in my heart, like the right thing to do is this, and I start doing that and I get pushback and it starts getting really hard, I'm like, all my head goes to is affirmation. That means I am doing the right thing. Like when you push, Steve Jobs has a quote, when you push into the world, when you push into the universe, into the world, something else pops out. Like it's like the fundamental dynamics of how the universe works. Like if you push in, you're going to get resistance, but like trust that process, trust that resistance as affirmation that things are working. And if you can just be persistent long enough, and you have to be mindful through that process because sometimes you're doing the wrong thing. So you got to be mindful through it. But if you can push through and just be persistent with the hard thing that you know to be true, I see the challenge, the resistance as affirmation that I'm on track. And then shortly thereafter, it dissipates and the opportunity, the reward, they reveal themselves. And it's like, if you can do that enough and stay focused on that, like know the challenges, you know it's going to be tough, know the challenge is going to be there, then you can get to the opportunity on the other side. It's a great place to be, the opportunity on the other side.
For people that are in the agency world, or people that are just honestly any business that are thinking about getting to a partnership, what would you ask of them to know before they get into that type of partnership or any partnership?
That's a great question. What is your biggest strength and what is your biggest weakness? And know that so clearly. Don't and if your answers are like, well, it's because my brother did this, or my cousin was this, or my dad raised me like this, or it's because I live in, Georgia, and because I live in Georgia, I'm not able. If when you're identifying your strengths and your weaknesses, your values, and then there's like victimization as part of that, or like reasoning that you are that way, you're not ready for a partner. So like that's your first red flag. Like if you're experiencing that, don't just go bring your to someone else to bring them down. Like go heal you first. Like start there. Yeah. I always think like to find a great wife, what do you need to be?
A good husband.
To find a great partner, what do you need? To be a great partner. So if you're not at the point where you're taking radical ownership of your challenges and your opportunities, if you're not aware of like where you're strong and where you're weak, you're not ready for a partnership. And that's not like bad thing. Great, you're aware of it. Like, that's huge. Now take the process to do the self-healing so that way you could have those great partnerships, or be a great solo entrepreneur once you do heal yourself. So that's the first step. And then the second step is I look for people who also do that. Like, I look for people who have dealt with their darkness. There are people who have processed their gnarliness. People, Nick actually told me when I met him, he's like, this is what make great friendships. And I might not say this perfectly, so you might have to help me, Nick, but it's like that you've gone through the ups, that you've gone through the downs, that you've gone through the lefts and the rights, that you've gone through trauma and total joy and ecstasy. Like, you've gone through every layer of these things. And once you go through every layer of these things with people, you create a bond that is cosmic in nature. And that bond can outlast about anything. And I think Nick and I have proved that over the years, which has been pretty exciting. And I know it's open to others too.
That's the Aaron version. I think that's the best place to kind of wrap it on that, dude. And I'm just as someone that's been close to you as a brother, as a friend, as a partner, as a businessman together with each other. You make a lot of the people around you much better. And we've seen that with one of our mutual friends, Joe. And that's incredible to see the impact that you have on others. And this is clearly a mission that is the way you live, which is why I think people find success is when you have full alignment of the things that you're pushing forward on in your business and the way that you live your life. It's in just life. Like, you're just living, and that energy is really, really, really contagious, especially as you continue to build something important for not just you, for not just the second generation, but for the rest of the world that really needs this. So I'm very grateful for it. Push forward. I love you, brother, truly. And I hope everybody else enjoyed this conversation, because this has been probably one of the deeper ones. I'm sure you guys weren't expecting to get this level under the agency algorithm, but we appreciate you. Thank you all for listening all the way to the end. You know where to find Aaron. Where do you want them to find you, actually, brother?
At Aaron J. Nosbisch, or you can find Lucid at wearelucid.com. And dude, I'm so grateful to be here. I really think of the world of you, Nick and Josh, and like anyone who's listening, listen to every single episode of this podcast. I'm telling you what, these guys know their shit. They're connected to the most amazing people in the industry, and you will not waste one single minute listening to their podcast. So thank you guys again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care. See you guys in the next one.